Okay, we're going to talk about the one rule, which is section 4.1 of the text. We're going to focus on the one rule with nominal data. There'll be a separate mini lecture or mini tutorial, whatever these things are. Let's face it, I'm lecturing at you. There'll be a separate one with numeric data. So what we need to do in Wicca, if we want to do the same thing I'm doing here, we need the Wicca Explorer, which is the default one. So I'll open that up. I'll move this into the window so we can see it. I need to open a file, so bear with me as I navigate to the data folder that came with it. It's here somewhere. I'll take another look. Okay, so what I want to find is the weather data. We want nominal weather data. So the one rule is really geared to work best with nominal data. In the reading, we see that it's okay to use this with numeric data, but there's actually a little trick involved where we basically transform the numeric data to nominal data. So I'll talk about that in the example of using the one rule with numeric data, but that's not the subject of this video. So when we have the preprocessed screen here, what we see is that we get a list of the features over here, the first four features. The last one, play, is our class. So it's the special value. It's the one that we're predicting. And for every feature, when we select it, what we also see over here is we see, okay, for our class, which in this case happens to be Outlook, for the Outlook, there's three possible categories that it falls into. Out of all the instances in our data set, 5 of them have the outlook value sunny, 4 have overcast, and 5 have the outlook value rainy. Then that corresponds to what we see down here below. Of the 5 that are sunny, we see that it's color-coded by the class. And then of the 4 that are overcast, we see that, oh, okay, all 4 of them have the same class. And then of the 5 that are rainy, we see that there's some of one class, the red colored one, some of the blue one. So we don't know which red or blue corresponds to in terms of play yet, but that's actually a little bit immaterial at this point. If we look at the scale that we have here, we see that 4 of these instances are about this height right here. And so we can eyeball, if this is 5, this is 4, this space corresponds to 1, this corresponds to 2. So here we have, out of the 5, we have 2 that are red, and then the other 3 are going to be blue. So what I'm going to have to do, change the color of the pencil here so that we can draw everything. So we have 3 instances that are of the blue class, 4 instances here of the blue class, and then this is even different. We have 3 instances of the red class, 2 instances of the blue class. So basically what the one rule says we want to do is we want to pick the majority and we want to make a rule. And so in this case, for sunny, the majority is red. And so the way we think about the one rule, if I clear the screen here, is that if we want to write down a rule, we would write down, okay, what feature are we dealing with? It's Outlook. So if Outlook equals sunny, or if Outlook is sunny, then the way this rule works is we pick the majority. 3 of them are red, and so we would say then class is, or class equals red. So we don't know which one red is at the moment, but we can write down a rule in terms without even knowing it. This is how the one rule works. For every value, for every category of the feature, we're going to write down a rule that classifies by the majority. And so then we could write down a different rule that if Outlook is overcast, then class is blue. Finally, what do we do for the rainy Outlook? If Outlook is rainy, then once again class is blue. We have 3 blue and 2 red, so the majority wins. So what that means is these rules are not perfect. And in this case, if Outlook is sunny, we get 3 right and we get 2 wrong. If Outlook is overcast, we get 0 wrong. And then if Outlook is rainy, we get 2 wrong. So there's 14 instances, we got 4 wrong. So basically our batting average, the ones we got right are 10 out of 14. And we might say, well, that's not that great, but if we actually look at this data set, that's the best we can do. So this is the mechanism for the one rule, but we haven't looked at every attribute yet. And so what the one rule tells us to do is do this procedure for every attribute. So then if we want to write down what we're doing for the one rule, and you can see here it's for nominal data, then we can start to write down some kind of pseudocode that what we want to do is for every feature, every attribute, so not for the class, but for every feature, then we want to do for every possible value or for every category of that feature. So we can already see if we were programming this, which we're not doing in I-421, this will be a nested for loop situation. For every category of that feature, what we do is we create a rule that classifies with the majority. So we go along with the most popular choice for this category of this feature. After we've done that for every feature, then all we end up doing is we choose the feature whose set of rules gives us the best accuracy. And of course I'm out of room, so I'll squeeze it in. So best accuracy, and we did it. So this is the basic idea behind the one rule, and we saw that we had an accuracy of 10 out of 14, which is not too bad. Sometimes it'll be better, sometimes it'll be worse than this. Now what we want to do though is we actually want to look at the data. Wicca doesn't make this as simple as it could necessarily be, but if we click the edit button here, then we can actually get a data window to appear. When our data set is small enough that it fits on the screen, this is pretty helpful, and we can do the things that we expect we might be able to do. We can sort by every feature. We've already done the outlook, and we saw that what we got in that case was 10 out of 14. And so what we need to do is if we're going to follow the procedure that the one rule tells us, we need to do this for every one of the features. So for temperature, there's 3 categories it falls into: cool, hot, and mild. So for cool, the majority says yes. So we create a rule: if temperature is cool, then play is yes. And when we do that, we get 1 wrong, 3 right and 1 wrong. If temperature is hot, oh, we have a 2-2 tie. So what do we do then? Well, this is a computer thing. So we let the computer either choose the first one or randomly break the tie. That's a programming decision. We'll just choose the first one here. And so we'll pick, if hot, then don't play. And if we do that, we get 2 right and 2 wrong. So far we've gotten 3 wrong. Whoa, I selected something that is because I don't have a pencil. Now I have a pencil. So far we've gotten 3 wrong, this one and these 2. And then if we do the same thing for if temperature is mild, if we look at the majority, it's going to be yes, but then there's going to be 2 no's that we get wrong. So out of these we have 5 wrong. So with temperature, we get 9 out of 14 with the one rule. So if we stop right there, then what we would say is, well, this is more accurate. And so this is what we would choose. If we keep on doing this for the other 2, what we'll actually find is we don't do any better than using the outlook. We actually get another one, which is 10 out of 14. I'll let you figure out which one that is. And once again, we have a tie. We have to decide what to do, and we have 2 options: make a random choice or choose the first one. If it's a computer program, we would more likely make a random choice, but we're people. I could flip a coin, but I'm not going to. I'm just going with the first one. So the rule that I'm going to end up using is, hey, let's use the outlook one. So that's what we end up doing with that. This is how the one rule works. We just follow that pseudocode. We can do this on paper, or we can do this ourselves with Wicca. The last thing I'll show you is how we can do this with Wicca. And so what I want to do then is I want to classify according to the one rule. So I click the classify tab up here. Now I get to choose my classifier. I get to choose which rule I want to use. In the classifiers folder, you may have to open these, you may not. Look under rules, and by default, 0 rule is selected. Instead, I'll select one rule here. There's actually a parameter for it that we can edit. We'll come back and look at that with the numeric data. If I have nominal data, I actually don't need to worry about that. And so I'm going to start it. And if I look at what I see, then it actually gives me some stuff here. If we don't know what most of this stuff is yet, that's okay. We'll see it later. If I scroll up here, though, this is the part that I want to focus on. I want to see what the model is. We want to know the output of our data mining. And sure enough, it's the same set of rules that we wrote down, and then it's the same accuracy, 10 out of 14 instances correct. So this is all we have to do to use the one rule in Wicca. It'll make the choices for us, it'll break ties for us. As long as we have some data that we can give it, it'll work out okay. So that's it for the one rule for now.